What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another War Within video. Hope you're all doing very well. We're going to talk about Assassination Rogue today. And this is, again, something I'm not super good at. I will do a full disclaimer. This is not something that I am amazing at yet. But I think, conceptually, I understand what Assassination Rogue is trying to do. And I can play it. And I have a bunch of complaints about this spec. Because I think even if you're not an amazing Assassination Rogue player, I think it's really clear that the hero talents in particular that have been introduced are very frustrating and not that great. And even though Deathstalker got buffed about a week ago, in my mind, it still has a fundamental flaw with the way that it's designed that doesn't work very well with Assassination Rogue at all. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the damage in general, the way that Assassination plays. And honestly, there's been some pleasant surprises from me after trying it in a couple of dungeons. I think it's actually okay, but let's just dive into it first. The talents, I think, on the spec tree are a little bit frustrating to me. First of all, there's 5 2-point nodes, right? You got one here, another one here, and then you have 3 at the bottom. And these 3 at the bottom are gatekeeping your capstones. So you have 3 2-point nodes that are going to gatekeep your capstones, which, I don't know. I just thought that Blizzard was in the business of starting to get rid of these kinds of frustrating, talent tree problems. Like, it's okay to have a couple of 2-pointers, I would say, on the tree, but to gatekeep all the capstones with 2-pointers just feels kind of dumb to me. I don't know. I think there's a way that they could fix this for sure and make it so you can have more access. I can still get 4 out of the 5 capstones for sure, but I have to invest 4 points just to be able to do that, especially Poison Bomb. Poison Bomb is gatekeeping 3 of them, right? And especially Dragon Tempered. Obviously, I can get to the other 2 if I wanted to, but I wouldn't be able to get Dragon Tempered. So I'd have to drop this, and then I would have a little bit more flexibility, kind of. But then in order to get down here, I'd have to either take a Fan of Knives or take 2 points into Vicious Venoms, and I still can't get all the way down here. So the talent tree itself, just the way that it's structured, I feel like it limits your build possibilities. And I don't know that there's necessarily too many builds you're going to need to run in Mythic Plus, for example, anyway. But I would love to try like an AoE Shiv build, like a cleaving Shiv build, and do a bunch of Shiv talents, like take the extra tiny Toxic Blade. And I already have a couple of Shiv talents here, but I feel like I can't do that because I'd have to give up what I consider to be mandatory talents. I think things like King's Bane and even Poison Bomb and certainly Indiscriminate Carnage and Sudden Demise, these are mandatory talents in Mythic Plus. Like, you cannot get away with trying to do Mythic Plus AoE damage without having Indiscriminate Carnage and Sudden Demise. So I feel like I'm automatically locked into coming over here, and there's some talents over here that I would love to go pick up and have fun with, but I can't. Maybe get some more execute damage with Zoldyck and then get Arterial Precision for the cleaving shivs. I just can't do that because of these other ones that I have to take. And the other thing that makes some of these talents mandatory is the stealth requirement. So if I just type in stealth, there is so much that you have to do in stealth as an assassination rogue, and I feel like we need to really start peeling back this stealth layer on all the rogue specs, especially outlaw rogue, and I would say a little bit for assassination rogue. Obviously, subtlety rogue is the stealth rogue. I feel like having all the benefits lopped into the subtlety tree is totally fine, and they do have lots of really great things with Shadow Dance, but the other 2 specs, outlaw and assassination, require stealth gameplay at the core of what they're doing. And if you do not get into stealth in between every single pack in Mythic Plus, if you don't get 2 charges of Vanish on the Spectre, if you don't take Subterfuge, you're gonna do 0 damage, like literally 0 damage. I would say like 60 to 70% of your damage is done in those stealth windows. Like the bulk of what you're gonna end up setting up as a Sin Rogue is done in the stealth window. And that is an emphasis that I think is a little bit too heavy. They need to peel that back a little bit and not have so much emphasis on stealth. If I don't take Improved Garrote and Master Assassin for all the crit, and then the extra combo points from Shrouded Suffocation, and then Indiscriminate Carnage where I'm spreading multiple dots at a time, if I don't take those talents, I'm doing no damage at all. I'm just doing no damage at all. So it really limits your talents, not only on the spec tree, but on the class tree. I can't take Echoing Reprimand, in my opinion. Maybe I'm totally wrong about this, but I can't take Recuperator or Echoing Reprimand. I have to take the extra energy stuff over here, and I have to take the stealth package over here. I have to, or else I don't do any damage. So that's annoying to me. I feel like that is really limiting on what you're going to want to be doing as a Sin Rogue. The other thing that's limiting is your hero trees, and these are just so bad. But again, the stealth here is also, it's also prevalent here, not only on the Fatebound tree, but on the Deathstalker tree. On the Fatebound tree, you're just like flipping these random coins, hoping to flip 2 coins of the same, like heads or tails in a row. If you flip 2 of the same in a row, you get this stacking bonus that builds up, right? That's the whole point of the Fatebound tree. And the best way to do that, you guessed it, is through stealth, double jeopardy. The first Fatebound coin that you flip after breaking stealth flips 2 coins that are guaranteed to match the same face. That will help to build up this stacking coin buff that you have, but you are required to do it from stealth. Once again, I don't understand the emphasis here on stealth. Why can't this just, that's the boat guy. Why can't this just work outside of stealth? Why can't it just be like every 3rd rupture that you put on an enemy, or after dealing 200,000 bleed damage, your next coin flip will flip twice? You know what I mean? Like, make it based on the actual specs themselves. I know there's another spec that shares with the Fate Buncher, but you know what I'm saying. So that's really annoying. And then Deathstalker is even worse. This is arguably the better tree. The better Hero Town tree is Deathstalker. This is the one that got buffed. Guess what? You are required to put a mark on somebody with ambush from stealth. Not Garrote, ambush. You know what we want to do as a Sin Rogue in stealth? I want to press Garrote. And I want to press Rupture, the 2 buttons that are lit up. I don't want to press ambush. This is not an ambush spec from stealth. I have a limited window of 6 seconds to go Garrote, Garrote, Rupture, Garrote, Garrote, Rupture. And then I have like 6 or 8 Garrotes and like 4 or 5 Ruptures, maybe 6 Ruptures. Then I'm good to go. I've set up my dots. I'm like ready to go. And then I can launch into like a Shiv Kingsbane, you know, Deathmark window and go crazy on one target and do caustic spatter damage. But in order to get that going, I must set up my bleeds first with Indiscriminate Carnage. And if I have to press ambush with Deathstalker's mark first, I'm limiting this already limited window that I have. I just don't understand the design here. I understand ambush works for sub rogue, which is what Deathstalker's a sub rogue thing as well. Fine, but like switch it up for Assassination Rogue. Put Garrote in there instead. It just absolutely makes no sense to me. And guess what? If you take Blindside and try and get a Blindside proc and think, oh, this is gonna work really well with the Deathstalker build, it doesn't work, because it requires ambush from stealth, and Blindside lets you use ambush without stealth. So it doesn't even matter if you take Blindside trying to like find some sort of synergy between the actual spec tree and the Deathstalker tree. It doesn't exist because you can't take Blindside. It doesn't proc your mark. I just don't understand. I don't get who designed this. Deathstalker mark is a cool idea. All the plague damage you're doing and stuff is actually kind of a cool idea. Auto attacks against marked targets deal plague damage, which is really cool because you get slice and dice rolling. Then you have 50% attack speed and you're using daggers, and daggers attack more quickly already. So like, I get what's happening here, but this mark thing is way, way off base. And then the entire actual damage coming from the Deathstalker tree itself, you have to scroll down if you want to find it. It's down here somewhere. Guess what? There it is. There's that auto attack damage. Hunt them down. There's the actual Deathstalker mark itself. And then there's a little bit more damage from singular focus. Altogether, it's 4% of my damage is coming from the Deathstalker actual mark. There's a few other bonuses you get. Of course, you do get energy back when you consume the Deathstalker mark, which is kind of nice. And it buffs the damage of your next ambush or mutilate. So you could look at your ambush and mutilate damage, even though ambush is way down here. And then my mutilate damage is actually right here. Those aren't really like big contributors to my damage. It's more about my dots, right? And sudden demise, which ticks people out when they're about to die, does fatal damage when they're like about to die. And then rupture damage, and then my sanguine blades, which is just my rupture and my Garrote and my crimson tempest consuming energy to do more damage. There's, like, this is about dots, and this is one of the specs in the game that actually gets dots really, really good. Like, I think Feral Druid has kind of fallen off the dot train to a degree. So I just don't understand what's going on here, and it's very frustrating. All these different factors put together make Assassination Rogue pretty frustrating to play, in my opinion. I don't actually think it's that bad fundamentally. Like, I think there's there's potentially some good to do here. And once again, I will admit freely that I am not a good Sin Rogue. I'm just not. But the design of what they're doing here doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that we're basing things on ambush instead of garrote, or rupture even, but let's say garrote, because garrote's a builder like ambush is. Why are we basing entire trees on stealth mechanics? Both of the trees have stealth synergy that if you don't get it right, or if you don't have an opportunity to get into stealth, you're screwed. Guess what? In a raid environment, in a raid fight, you can't re-stealth when the boss dies. There's no extra. It's just you fight the boss and you can't re-stealth except via vanish, which again requires you to take an extra charge of vanish and requires you to build around stealth once again. And then your vanishes are limited, unlike Outlaw Rogue. Outlaw Rogue gets to cool down vanish with Restless Blades. We don't have that as a Sin Rogue. So let's say on a raid fight, what if it's like a Sylvanas raid fight and it goes for like 12 minutes? You're not going to get your vanishes back. You're going to use your vanishes to keep applying that Deathstalker mark, and then once you're out of your 2 charges of vanish, you got to wait like 2 minutes to get that sucker back again. So I just don't understand the design goals here. I feel like Blizzard has sort of dropped the ball on Sin Rogue, and especially the hero talent trees and the talents, in my opinion, because there's not really any ability to build your talent tree differently than the way you're supposed to build it in Mythic Plus. And maybe that's probably okay for some people. I really enjoy a little bit of diversity. I love being able to potentially try different builds, but it feels like there's so many talents in my spec tree that are completely mandatory. And if I don't take them, I'm literally just trolling my team because I'm not going to do any damage in Mythic Plus. And then the hero trees themselves, of course, are just fundamentally flawed in their design. They just don't have the kind of synergy that you would be hoping for with Assassination World. Like, for example, this little window right here, if I press ambush here, I won't be able to get another garrote going. I won't be able to get another rupture going. I have such a limited window there. So I either have to choose between my Deathstalker mark, which is an entire hero talent tree. If I don't press ambush, I'm not getting any benefit out of, essentially. I'm getting some benefit, but not that much. The whole point is the mark. I choose between the mark or doing my regular rotation. I don't know. My regular rotation seems okay, actually. Again, I don't know that the damage is actually that bad, necessarily. I'm talking more from like a fundamental design decision. It feels bad. For all the reasons that I've mentioned. They need to fix this part of Sin Rogue, in my opinion. I just feel like it's really a struggle that way. The actual baseline damage of all your bleeds and your poisons, I think they're actually pretty good. I think they're actually not bad at all. It's just that the philosophy, the design behind it all just really feels like it's lacking. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, especially you people who play Sin Rogue much more than I do. Have you been experimenting with it? Do you feel the same way that I do about these hero trees? Do you feel the same way that I do about the talent tree? I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. And, don't be too critical of my gameplay, please. I'm not that good. I'll admit I'm not that good. But if you are really good at this spec, I want to hear from you because I want to know if I'm way off base here or if there is some truth to this, that this is just the design of this seems fundamentally flawed and frustrating. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.